Assalamu alaikum one more time. I'm recording now part two of my presentation, and I apologize for any mistakes that I did in part one. And I don't claim to be above humans or anything. I'm just a regular person who does mistakes all the time, and I don't claim any special status. This is just part of a study that I did, and again, I claim that I testify that Allah is one and has no partners, and Muhammad is his messenger. So I will share with you the conclusion that we came with, at least I came with last presentation, part one of the presentation. So just to remind people where we stopped. Um, so we stopped at the idea or the alternative hypothesis that the common culture is that Allah chose to create the universe using the quantum physics versus the simple classical physics to use its characteristics, which gives him the ability to know all possible probabilities of the choices of humans, yet with Allah's own will, blocks from his knowledge the future choices of humans. This way of creation gives the humans the chance to choose freely their actions that will determine their place from heaven or hell in a manner that does not create a conflict between their free will and Allah's prior knowledge, nor the destiny that Allah has already predetermined for the universe and the humans during their time on earth. This is the conclusion that I came with, that Allah used his abilities and capabilities to create this very complex creation to give us the blessing of his justice, and that by itself worth thanking him a lot about. Now you should be feeling more responsible about your actions, feeling more safe about the other events of your life that you are not held responsible about. Like whenever you see a situation where there's no halal or haram in it, know in your heart that this is predestined and you have no choice in it. But the minute you see a situation where there is a forbidden or there is a lawful way to do it, know in your heart that now you have a choice. Nobody knows what you're going to do except you. Nobody's acting upon your will. It's your free will. Don't blame but yourself. Feel more responsible. Feel the freedom of free choice. And thank your God for going through this way of creation, that he invented the law and he created the universe with this law to allow us the freedom and the justice that comes with that. So I will start with now the question number two, which is what about the ayahs and the hadith that actually may seem to contradict this conclusion? So going on, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So part two of two. So there is ayat that may sound like contradicts what we just concluded in part one. Like this ayah, for example, he who has created to you, for you, all what's in earth, and then he leveled to the heavens and he made them seven heavens, and he's knowledgeable with everything. So the word everything here sounds like all inclusive, and it may confuses some people to think that everything, including my actions that will take me to heaven or hell, or actually my destination, my final abode. So how can we resolve this in the light of what we concluded in the last presentation? So I looked for the word everything, بكل شيء, meaning everything. He's knowledgeable about everything. And then I found another few everythings. Like here in this verse, where he's actually talking about Moses. And he said, and we wrote to him in the tablets from everything a preaching and a explanation, detailed explanation for everything. So take it strongly and order your people to take its best. I will show you the house of the people who disobeyed or people who didn't follow the law. So the word everything here actually is questionable a little bit because culturally we know what's in the tablets of Moses. I mean, if you don't know, there was the Ten Commandments. So is that everything? I kind of question that this is everything or everything that the Jews needed at that time. So I'm for sure the tablets didn't contain everything in the universe, every atom, every empty space, no, it didn't. It just was just the Ten Commandments. So everything here didn't really mean the literal everything or all things. And again, another ayah that there is the word everything in it, and we say, what God made the night and day as two signs. So we erased the sign of the night and we made the sign of the day visible. So you can use it to get the bounty of your Lord, from your Lord, and to know the number of years and the calculation. And everything we have explained, or we have explained everything. Really? In this ayah, you explained everything, or you explained everything regarding the number of the day and nights and why they were created, and what do we use these day and night to count? We count the years, we count the time, and we count things. So everything here didn't mean really everything. So I gave this example to my son when I was explaining this to him. So I said, okay, take everything, like he was going to the store and said, take everything with you. Don't forget anything. So I was like, will you understand that you want to take the whole universe in the trunk of your car? He said, no. I said, what would you guess when I say something like this? I said, everything that I need to go to the store, like my wallet, like my car keys, like shopping bags, like things that I will need within the context, not everything. So that actually resolves everything. That resolved the word everything and the problem it's causing, because here in this ayah and the likes of this ayah, I'm not going to list every ayah that actually talks about everything, but it is repeated multiple times in the Quran, the word everything, while it means everything in context, please. I mean, come on, context. So here he's saying, he who has created for you what in earth, then he leveled to the heavens and made him 7 heavens. So he's talking about everything about what he created for you on earth, and his knowledge about everything that he created for you on earth and the heavens for you, created for you. He knows everything about what he created for you people. So now we kind of resolved that, or at least I claim that I resolved that. The word everything doesn't really mean everything. Specifically, when God has explicitly detailed what he actually knows about the universe and about us in the table that I put in part 1. So here you go. He say everything. He knows everything. He said he knows. Don't add to it. Just you can't know God more than God knows himself. Actually, nobody saw God. So the only one who can describe God is God. Allah is most knowledgeable about himself. When he say, I know this, then you stop there. You don't come and say, no, you know one more. But he didn't say that. He said everything, yes. He knows everything, yes. Everything of what he listed, not what you want him to know. I guess that's pretty clear now. So let's go to the other problem or the other type of problems. So here it's talking about that didn't you know that God knows what's in heavens and earth? This is all written in a book. This is easy for Allah. So what is this book? This book is the Lawh al-Mahfuz, or what they call the book of destiny, where everything is written in it. So people would say that this ayah contradicts your conclusion because supposedly everything is written. So I actually got another ayahs from the Quran that talks about this book, or the Quran for that matter. Like the first ayah here say, whatever verse we abrogate or we made forgotten, we bring better than one that is better than it or like it. Don't you know that God is capable of all things? So here God is saying abrogate ayahs. So changing the ayah, supposedly per the people understanding, which is I have some reservation on that opinion, that the Quran is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, or the book that God talked about here. It's part of it because it's part of the events that will happen on earth. So, and the revelation of the Quran is supposedly written in that book up there. So that means that book is changing as he's changing the Quran. That's one ayah. The other ayah is that وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا, and we have sent messengers before you, and we made them wives and kids, and it wasn't for any messenger to come with a verse except with the permission of Allah for every time. There is a set time already predetermined for it. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. God would erase what he wants and confirm what he wants. And he has the mother of the book. So obviously there's the book and there's the mother of the book. The book is there's some stuff that is being erased and some stuff is being confirmed. And the mother of the book, which have the basic principles and basic events. So what is erase? And so obviously this book is not set in stone. There's some stuff that based on the conditions, God would erase what he wants and confirm what he wants, and he has the mother of the book. Only he. So that resolves the everything is written. And we talked about in part one about those two angels that are sitting on our sides here recording our good and bad deeds. So what is the difference between what these guys are recording and what's written in the book if this book had our actions that will determine our fate from heaven or hell? So is he rewriting the Lawh al-Mahfuz or the book that is here? And we answered that question, that shed a question mark about what's in this book. So in this book, I'm claiming that it has the major events of the universe. It has the tests that me and you are going to be subjected to. It has the when I'm going to be born, when I'm going to die, when I'm going to have, what kind of kids I'm going to have, and what kind of job I'm going to do, who I'm going to marry, how rich or poor I'm going to be. This is all in the book because this is part of my predestination. This is written already. This is known already. So it is in that preserved book or Lawh al-Mahfuz. So here he actually talking about something else that gets erased and gets added. So there is a difference. This book doesn't have my destination, because otherwise, what are these two angels are doing? Recording my actions. So there's the other point, and which some people would take on against the conclusion that we came with in the part one, is that this ayah, for example, is that God is making a claim saying most of mankind will not believe even if you desire it eagerly. Really? That sounds like a, a call about mankind predestined, that, but with a bit of deeper examination of the verse, it's talking about most of mankind. Oh, so it's not talking about a specific person, it's talking about the average of a population. But actually, I'm an engineer. I work with statistics, and with few information about the population, I can make statistical inferences like that, and sometimes more accurate if I know more. So imagine God knowledge about us and how he created us. So he can make that. God knows a lot about us, more than we know about ourselves. So he has the capacity to make that without actually knowing us. So let's assume that this is, I hope you guys know what I'm talking, what is this curve looks like. This is called the normal distribution curve. And if we assume that this is the average of the people will average here of the population, and God has a threshold, let's say it's here, that what is below that average will go to hell. What is above this average will go to heaven. So I can actually, or God, if you give me, myself, if you give me enough, some information about this population, I can tell you, and you tell me what is the threshold, I can tell you that, oh, by this information, most of the people will go to hell or will not believe in Allah. It's simple. It is just population average versus individual sample value. You can predict a population average from a few information about the population. But if you pick an individual sample, you cannot tell what is this sample is going to be. Let's assume that we have around something like this, and we know that this is like 2 centimeters. So I can say it's two, on average, the lot is 2 centimeters thick. But it varies. Sometimes it's 2.1, it's 2.2, sometimes it's 1.9, sometimes it's 1.8. So on average, 2 centimeter. But if I pick one sample at random from the lot and tell you, oh, this will be 2, no. Nobody knows the individual sample result until I actually measure that. And then I know what is this going to be. So that is simple. That is basically the statistical inferences about population with I mean, and I believe Allah because he knows about us more than we know about ourselves, so he can tell about the population average that will not be believers. Simple. It is not, he's not making any claim about any single one of us. He's making claim about humanity in general. And that applies to every other ayah that talks about a group of people and then say that most of these people will be this or most of these people will be that. That is not talking about a single individual or a single sample. That applies to all the ayats about the day, the hereafter, and the day of judgment, when people are in the hellfire blaming each other about who brought us here. That all claims, I mean, God by now knows how these people will react because they're already dead. There's a huge chunk of population that is already dead, and their destinations and their final abode has been determined. And he can tell that these people will say this because That is the natural reaction of the human when they're subjected to such conditions that he knows well, the condition, and he knows the human. So he can make those claims. So this explanation applies to populations that he talked about and applies to all the ayahs of the hereafter or the day of judgment, be that hell or heaven. So I think this resolved these kind of ayahs. At least it doesn't contradict in my mind. Of course, you have the right to agree with me or not. Then there's these kind of ayahs where he actually talks about people that are still alive and makes a call about their destination. So for example, here he was talking about Pharaoh, or Pharaoh of Egypt. At the time he actually got flooded by the water of the Red Sea, and while he was drowning, he said, actually literally said, I believe that there is no God except the one that the sons of Israel has believed in, and I am from the Muslims. Wow. What did God answer him? Said, oh, now? And you have been disobedient before, and you were from the one who caused mischief? So obviously he rejected that claim from Pharaoh, and I was like, okay, that is, he made a call on him at this point that seems like contradicts that he doesn't know. He was still alive, so how did he know that this guy is not accepted or it's not going to go to hell? And another big one, which is Tabbat Yada Abi Lahabin wa Tab. Most of Muslims know this. It's talking about the uncle of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this ayah, while the uncle was still alive, this ayah was revealed, and it actually said that purge the hands of the father of the flame. That's what he was called by the Quran. His money would not help him. He will actually go into hellfire that have flames, and his wife too will be holding burning wood, and in her neck there will be a rope from fire, while both were alive, the uncle and his wife. Wow, that seems like it contradicts big time. He knew now about the destiny of this guy, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, while he was still alive. Wow. And actually the guy lived for a while after the revelation of this surah, and he never made it to Islam. He could have destroyed Islam completely if he went and said, oh, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa Muhammadur Rasulullah. And then this ayah, we have to either go out of Quran or we have to resolve it somehow. But the guy never did, which is what? You were one of the staunch enemies of Islam, and you had a chance to destroy Islam from inside, and you just didn't notice it? And okay, so this is another ayah. The third ayah is talking about Noah's, and he's telling Noah that at the time of the flood that nobody from your people will believe anymore except who have believed already. So don't be mad at them. Don't be sad about what they were doing. And I was like, wow, here you go, another claim about their destiny while they were alive. And then it's talking about somebody who has worshipped his lust or his desires, and God actually misguided him upon knowledge, knowing upon his, like the guy, he knew, he's not like ignorant or something. He knew what's right and what's wrong, and then God sealed his heart, sealed his ears and heart, and he made a veil on his vision. So who would guide him after Allah, or other than Allah? Don't you remember? So this is another one that actually, oh, here you go, somebody who's alive, and God actually misguided him and sealed his heart. And then the last one was, or at least the other one was, it's not a lot. There's some more of this, but I just gave you as an example. of what's in the Quran that may seem to contradict our conclusion. And it's talking about the kid of the Khidr. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I'll go into that in detail. It's a kid that was killed by some messenger of God on the condition that he might be hurting his dad and mom of being not a good offspring, and he might hurt him. So here's another call about somebody's final destination while he was alive. Actually, he was a kid, which makes it way worse. So that means he was not even responsible for his action at this moment, and he still got killed, and God made his final call about him while he was alive. So let's get into this. So I see the third ayah here is the solution of this ayah. So for example, here, if you start reading the ayah, didn't you see who he has taken his lust or his desire as his God? And God has misguided him, even though he knew the right from wrong, and he sealed his heart. So let's go to the next slide. Maybe it will explain the situations here. So as I looked in the Quran, there was different categories of humans, basically the progeny of Adam. There is the chosen ones, which is treated a little differently, chosen meaning handpicked from the population of humanity. And then there's the regular humans. And then in a specific category in its own, it's the Khidr kids, the Khidr's kid. So we'll talk about the three of them, but now I want to focus about the general humans or regular humans. Those are cut into three categories. So there is those, the general ones, me and you and everybody, who is waiting for the day of judgment to be judged, or waiting until he died, basically, before his record is sealed. And then there's those who are actually Mubashirin bil Jannah, or given the glad tidings of heaven while they're alive. We know about those. There's 10 known in Islam that was given the glad tidings of heaven. And then there was this hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, God has looked at the hearts of the people who fought Badr, the first big battle of the Prophet with the non-believers of Mecca. And he's telling them, go do whatever you want from this point on. Nothing will take you away from Jannah while they were alive. Who told him this? It's the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who told him this. And this guy, as we believe, doesn't talk from his own, especially when he talks about Jannah and Nar. So those people are given the glad tidings. And then there's those people that the opposite, or the flip coin of the second category, which is the one that are promised with hell while they're alive. So those two categories obviously reached a milestone, a good milestone or a bad milestone. The people who reached this good milestone, God gave them the glad tidings. Do whatever you want from this point on. You lost your free choice. You did so good, you lost your free choice. So from this point on, your life is going to go to heaven no matter what you do. Or not no matter what you do, but you will be guided to the good actions that will take you to heaven. At this point, you're done. You're just living because there is kalimatun sabaqat min rabbika. Lawla kalimatun sabaqat min rabbika. If it wasn't for a word that has been already preordained, which is the day of their death, you would have been in Jannah now. But because you still have part in the line of the story, you will stay alive. But it's not gonna, the rest of your life is not gonna change your destiny. You reached that good, you did that very good deed that will take you to Jannah. Like when Uthman ibn Affan, one of the Prophet's companions, gave most of his money to the Prophet to finance the army of the believers. He told him, go do whatever you want, Uthman, from this point on. You're from the people of Jannah. He did this milestone that you just need to wait for your death. That's all you need to do. And then there are the other people, or the flip coin of that, that did a milestone that is so bad that they were sealed. Their heart were sealed. They will never believe. God didn't allow them, will not allow them to believe or to repent or to do any good that will take him to Jannah. So basically, these people, from this point on, you lost your free choice. You are going to hell no matter what. And God explained this in the ayah. I can go back to the ayah and show you what he did. So he say, this ayah here says, didn't you see he who take his God, his lust or his desire as his God, and God has misguided him, even though he knows some knowledge, and he sealed his ears or his listening and his heart, and he made a veil on his vision. So who would guide him other than Allah? So that is the ayah where the seals come into play. This guy did some milestone that took him there. The other parts which explain this one is that from the people of Noah, you know how long Noah stayed calling his people for the path of Allah? He stayed for 950 years. I mean, come on. At this point of the flood that is coming within a few minutes, God is making the call that I don't want any of you anymore. Even if you come now and believe, no, you're done. After 950 years, you're done. I'm not accepting you anymore. It's not like he predestined this on them. This is their own choices after 950 years of trying with them. So give me a break there. So these people deserve to be sealed. At least deserve to die. I mean, this is the time for them to die. And some of them are 950 years old. If you're dead, you're done. So he's going to kill them now with the flood. So nobody will believe. That's not like God is imposing this on them. They brought this on themselves. And the same for Abi Lahab. Abi Lahab was the uncle of the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kept asking him to join Islam, kept begging him to join Islam, kept believe in Allah. You're not going to lose any of your privilege. This guy hated Islam so much and hated the Prophet so much, the point that he was trying to attempt to step on the Prophet's neck, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while he was prostrating in front of Kaaba. And at that point, he reached this milestone that you are done. Do whatever from this point on, you are destined to hell. That is another seal on the heart. You're done. So I'll keep this the Khidr kids to the end. So let's go now talk about those chosen ones. Let's see how those chosen ones are different than the rest of humanity. Chosen meaning what? Meaning God knows all humanity, and he picked those people from humanity to carry the burden of being prophets and messengers to the rest of humanity. They need to be of a specific caliber to carry this heavy weight of the message. So what happened there? Let's see. So let's start with Adam, one of the first to be chosen. So God told the angels that I am putting on earth a vicegerent or a successor. So they answered, are you going to put on earth who do mischief and spill blood, and we are angels praising your glory and making you holy? He told them, I know what you don't know. So as I'm seeing from here, the plan from the beginning is to put a vicegerent or a successor on earth. The question comes is, why did he put him in the garden? I mean, the explainers of the Quran or the learned people kind of disagreed. What is this garden? Is it in heaven or is it on earth? It doesn't matter. It was a special place that he didn't need to find food. He didn't need to find clothes. He didn't need to, basically everything was provided for him. He didn't need to worry about anything. Him and his wife to come later, Eve or Hawa. So here he say, and we said to Adam, you and your wife live in this garden and eat whatever you want from it, and do not come close to this tree so you won't be from the wrongdoers. So the shaitan made them slip. So he took him out from what they were in, and God saying, we said, go down to earth. You are each other's enemy, and you have on earth an abode and a place to enjoy for a time. So God gave Adam some words to say, so he forgave him. That kind of caused me to think a little bit. God started saying, I'm putting on earth a vicegerent or a successor. Then the first thing he puts him is in the garden, not the earth, where he has to work. I mean, on earth, he has to work to get his food and get his clothes, and he has to defend himself from wild animals and whatever. This was all not the case in the garden. What he was doing in the garden, that's a good question. And I'm not seeing a lot of people asking that question. Why? Why he said, I'm going to put him on earth, and then he puts him in the garden. This is my personal opinion. I'm thinking that the garden was just an incubation period. Incubation to do what? When the incubation period has ended, the incubation period ended with Adam disobeying his God and eating from the tree. What? Yes. Mm-hmm. So think about it a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Why this incubation period? The incubation period is to make sure that Adam have the capacity to disobey his God with his own free will, even though he got clear instructions not to eat from the tree. And he, with his own free will, chose to eat from the tree. Once he managed to exercise his free will and eat from the tree, the incubation has ended. It's time for you to start the test. Actually, Adam has passed the incubation period test. He proved that he is a creature that can disobey his Lord with his own free will. Adam, by eating from the tree, he passed the test. That's why he started his actual intended purpose, which is be on earth. Think about it more. Adam, when he ate from the tree, he proved to God, I can disobey you. With whatever condition, let's say that the shaitan lured him into it, and that's why God allowed the shaitan to stay till the day of judgment, whispering and tempting Adam to go to do the bad things. And God created Adam with his own creation, tilting towards following his desires, his lust, his hunger. He wants us into an exam on earth. But in this exam, if we are bulletproof, we're going to zip through it. No. He built us with, we like to sin. We like to do the bad things. It's built into us. We like easy gains. We don't like to work hard to get money. We like to have every woman we can see, we can get. Halal, haram, that's our lust. He made the shaitan to also act on us, to pull us toward the sin. And he wants us, if you believe in him, to return to him or to resist all these temptations, to pass the test. God put Adam in an incubation period to make sure that this guy will be able to have free will and choose in his own. Once he did it, he passed the test and he put him on earth. That's one example of a chosen one that God waited on him until, with his own free will, picked to disobey Allah. You may have a different explanation of the story, why he put him in the garden, but until I find a better explanation than this, please let me know. Then let's talk about the next biggest figure in the Muslim culture, which is Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Is chosen among all humanity, best of humanity. That's what Muslims believe, best of humanity. So he's saying here in one verse, in Surah Al-Haqqah, saying, and if he says wrong things or false things about us mean Allah, we would have taken from him with the right hand what we give him, which is the message. And then we would have cut his veins, his arteries. He's talking about his most beloved. He's talking about his chosen one. He called him the chosen one. And nobody would be able to help him. I feel like this is the first time I read this ayah. What is this chosen one that he put the probability if this guy say false things about Allah, about God? Is it even a probability? Wow, I didn't know that. But he is actually, obviously, when you say if, that means that this universe is already there. And he's telling you, or telling us, the readers, what will happen if that the other universe is there, and the result is what you're just, if the Prophet, God forbid, did this, he would have done so and so to him. In other words, the other universe that never quantized got materialized. Because the Prophet, thank God, didn't do this. But this is a hypothetical ayah, because it's say if. What about the next one? The next one was really shocking to me. This is the chosen one. He said, they were about to tempt you away from what we have revealed to you, to falsely say other than what we revealed to you. And at this point, they would have taken you as a friend. And if it wasn't that we have made you stand firm, we have, I don't know the word, that's the actual translation of the word, but we have made you stand firm, don't go their way, basically. You are about to lean their way a little bit. And if this happened, we would have shown you, we would have made you taste the weakness of or a double portion of the life and the double portion of the death. Then you wouldn't find anybody that would help you with us or against us. God. This is not hypothetical, saying verily they were about to tempt you away from our way, from which we have revealed to you, meaning you were about to say false things about us. And if it wasn't that we made you stand firm, you would have gone their way. This is the chosen one, the one that, per Islamic traditions, actually at the age of 6, the angels, after he was chosen, then the angels at the age of 6 opened the chest of the messenger, at the age of 6 and cleaned his heart from whatever is left in there. That means manufactured, basically. He was given extra tools to carry this heavy message. And still with all of that, there was still probabilities that this guy would go do wrong stuff. But because this guy is carrying a heavy weight of the message of Islam, God made him stand firm on the right path, the chosen one. I don't know if this wouldn't tell you that we are free will. We have free will. What will? What more evidence you want? Let's see another one. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So this is the second one, Yusuf. And this is the story of the Prophet Yusuf salam, with Zulaykha, the wife of the minister in Egypt. And the ayah is talking, I don't forget about this translation. I think they were again shy to translate the Arabic. The Arabic says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. I think most Arabs know what this means. And most men know what this, and most women, and anybody who would understand Arabic would know what this means. He was about to have sex, just shy from having sex. Just shy from having an intercourse. All the precursors has happened. لَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا. We're talking about Yusuf, the prophet. He was about to commit adultery. Except that God has shown him a proof to stop. What are you doing? You are a prophet. You cannot do this. Another chosen one. And if it wasn't for God, he would have went and did it. God stopped him, that's all. Another one. And this one is shocking, at least to say. Shocking. This is talking about Yunus or Jonah. And this prophet, Jonah, Yunus, went to people. He kept calling for the path of Allah for a while. And nobody gave him any attention, or nobody followed him. So he decided that I will lead these people. And went to the beach or the harbor, and the first ship leaving, he just took the ship and left. Really? A chosen one. God chose Yunus. And he also chose to tell us about Yunus in the Quran. Could have ignored Yunus. This guy obviously failed God, right? I'm sending him to these people to call them to my way. And the messenger that I sent left the message, left the people that he was sent to, and decided to leave. This is an absolute failure. He didn't do his job. What there? What can I call this situation except a failure? God sent the messenger left the message and the people who were sent to and left. You tell me, what is this? If God knew about this before it happens, I'm not going to answer that. But what did this guy do? He's chosen to do this. God knows the whole plot. If I'm God, I wouldn't send this guy. I wouldn't. Why would I send somebody who wouldn't do his job? The destiny or the final destination of these people that he was sent to is his responsibility, and he left it. At least he needs to deliver the message, keep delivering the message, keep trying with them. We look at the other example of Noah. He spent 950 years trying and nothing happened, but he still tried. This guy left. So what happened when he left? We all know the story. He went to the sea, and the sea got so wild. So they decided, per the tradition of the time, to throw one of the guys out. They made a toss or whatever, and obviously Jonah or Yunus failed the toss, and he was the one to be thrown in the sea. The minute he went into the sea, a whale came, took him into his belly, and he was alive in the belly of the whale. And the original plan, per what God is saying in the next different surah, he would have stayed in his belly to the day of judgment. Stayed in the belly. Alive or dead, people disagree on that, but he would have stayed in his belly. That was the plan. Except that he was praying to Allah all the time when he was in the belly of the whale. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. So God has changed the destiny that he was preparing for Jonah one more time, and he gave him one more chance, and he made the whale push him out of his belly, and he went to people, called them for the path of Allah. They believed, and he was successful at this point, and everything was good. But he changed because originally he was supposed to stay in the whale's belly to the day of judgment, except that he was from the one who called for Allah help and repentance. This is a very clear story that proves actually what we tried to allude to in part one of the video. I don't know what to say more than this, but this is actually way more shocking. He's talking here about the slew of the prophets, starting from Abraham down to Jesus. So he was saying Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Noah, David, Solomon, Job, Joseph or Yusuf, Moses, Aaron, the brother of Moses, Zechariah, Joan, Jesus, Elias, Ishmael, Eliasa, Jonah, Lot. And he says that we have given them privilege over the whole creation, and from their fathers, their offspring, and their brethren, and we have chosen them, and we have guided them to a straight path. Then, in the next ayah, it's talking about them saying, and if they associate partner to Allah, all what they was doing will go in vain. The whole slew of prophets. It is a probability that these prophets, chosen ones, all of them in one ayah, in one few ayahs, in one surah, may associate partners with Allah. Can you believe what Allah is saying? They may. So whenever you see law, if, that means the other universe where these people has already associated partners with Allah is built and was ready for them to do that, to associate partners. He knew, he built that universe too. It is just shocking to me, and it proves more and more the point of the quantum physics and why he did create it. And every ayah over ayah over ayah is showing us that humanity in general is subject to that. It's not just us as regular human beings, even prophets, they have free will. They can do whatever they want to do. It's just chosen people based on their qualities, that they can bear the heaviness of the message. And still they needed some help, some push from Allah to stay on the path, to be the perfect messages they were, the messengers they were. Now we come to the Khidr kids, which is a story by itself, a category by itself. What God said here that, first let me give you a background about this story, that Moses was told by Allah that there is a learned man that he needs to go and learn from. So he went to his prescribed trip in the Surah Al-Kahf, and he actually went to the sea, waited. And then on the way back from the sea, after their fish has escaped them, him and his boy, so they found this learned man. So Moses asked him, "Can I follow you to learn from you?" So the man replied that you won't be able to follow me. You won't be able to be patient, because how can you be patient on stuff that you didn't know about? So he said, "Don't worry, you'll find me a patient man, and I will follow you without asking." So he said, "Okay, if you follow me, don't ask me." So then they started with the first story. And this guy, at least per Islamic traditions, is called Khidr. And if you actually look at how it is written in English, it's a Kidra, which is very close to Qadar. But anyways, so they rode, they took a trip on a boat, and while in the boat, Khidr actually, or this learned man, punctured the bottom of the ship. So Moses was astonished. "What are you doing? You're actually doing something very strange. These people are poor. They need their ship to reach the destination, or to do work with it, fish with it, or whatever." So the guy told him, "Didn't I tell you that you're not gonna bear with me?" He said, "Okay, don't hold me responsible for this. I'm sorry about it. Let's move on." So he said, "Okay, let's move on." And then they met the Khidr kid. And then the Khidr basically held the guy and killed him, the boy, and killed him. So I said, "What? What did you do? You killed the soul without a soul? You killed the soul without any without any crime? This is something so bad." So the Khidr replied again to him and said, "Didn't I tell you you're not going to be able to hold yourself?" So the guy told him, okay, if I ask you Moses told him, "If I ask you any more questions, don't allow me to follow you anymore." So they went into this village where they were traveling through this village, and then they were tired, and they asked the people to feed them and host them for the night. And the people refused to do that, the people of the village. So while they were getting out of the village, the Khidr saw a wall that was about to fall. So basically, he repaired the wall and made it stand erect again. So Moses looked at him and said, "You could have asked for something about instead of just building the wall like that." And he said, the Khidr replied, said, "That's it. That's the end between me and you. I'll tell you what you were asking and couldn't hold yourself in patience waiting for the answers." So as for the ship, we actually let's see if we can. The ship belonged to poor people that were working in the sea, and we wanted to make it bad because there is a pirate or a king behind them that comes and steal those ships from the people in the sea. And regarding the kid, therefore, this is the ayah in front of you. His father and mother were believers, so we feared that he may oppress them by rebellion and disbelief. And the word he used in the ayah, khashina. Khashina in Arabic means he feared. When I tell you I fear that behind this door there's a fire, does that mean I'm sure? I fear that there's a fire behind this door? Sorry, no. I'm going to say I fear, that means most probably, yeah. So get ready. I fear that there might be a fire behind this door, so don't hold the knob or whatever. Don't hurt yourself, or be careful at least when you're opening the door. So is that a verb to be used when you're killing somebody, especially a kid that didn't do anything wrong yet? that you fear that he would be bad when he grows older? That also proves my point that at this point, he told, that Khidr said, Khashina. In English, it transferred to we. But who's we? Khashina in Arabic is a very strange language when it talks about it. Two people, there is a verb that identify two, or a pronoun that identify that he's talking about two people or two personalities. Who are those two? I mean, any Muslim would tell you that's the one of them is the Khidr, and the other is Allah. So me and Allah feared that the kid might be bad, so that's why we killed him. First of all, the fear proved that you're not 100% sure his final actions that will take him, because his treatment to his dad and mom will take him to either to heaven or hell. The other part is, why did you kill that kid? He didn't do anything yet. You already judge him on something that he didn't do. And that kid, okay, let's go to the final story about the wall, where the Khidr told him that this wall belonged, or this wall and this garden belonged to two orphan kids, that their father and mother was good people, and God wanted for this treasure under this wall, and under the wall there's a treasure that belongs to these kids. And if the wall falls down, the people of the village that are so bad they didn't even invite people to eat or stay overnight will take that treasure and will not give the kids anything. So God basically wanted this treasure to stay intact until these kids grow older and keep their own treasure, because their father and mother were good. So these are the three stories of the Khidr, and these, you can tell that the Khidr was teaching Moses how God's qadar work, how God's destiny work. It works in three different ways. Like the people in the ship, they saw the Khidr doing the bad thing, and then after a while they recognized that this bad thing caused them good things. And or like the kid, or the mother and father of the kid that died or got killed, they only saw the harm that came to them from the death of their child. They didn't know the good that came after this. So this is another way that the qadar, or the destiny of God, works. Third way, not the people of the village, not the kids, the orphans, knew what happened, and they just got the benefit of what God did. So obviously God sent this Khidr to Moses to tell him, this is how my qadar works. You either see the bad and relate it to the good that comes after it, or don't even know, or see only the bad and don't even know what good came out of that, because they didn't relate the new kid, that the good kid that they got instead of the one that got killed, related to the death of the first one. They just saw a death of a boy and then a birth of another boy. They didn't connect. So they saw a bad and they never knew what happened, even though the good happened to them. The third one is that nobody noticed anything, and God worked behind everybody's knowledge. At the end of the three ways, the destiny of God is telling us that it is good. It's just might look bad to you and you would understand, or might look bad to you and you don't understand, or you might not even notice it at all. But at the end of the day, all God's destiny is good. At the end of the day, even though it might look bad. So this is Khidr acting as the destiny of God. When destiny kills somebody, that's called death. That's not called killing. When God wants somebody dead, just drop dead. You can't call that a killing. The guy just died. So if the kid just died at the age of 8, whatever, what do you call that? Somebody killed him? So the killing part is out of the question now, because the Khidr is acting as the qadar of God to teach Moses. So this is a teaching. This is a lesson. This is like a presentation that I'm preparing for you. If I get an actor here or an icon on the screen and then cut it into 2 pieces, calling him dead, is that unfair to the character? This is just a presentation. The kid was manufactured this way specifically so Moses can learn how the action of God. So if this guy actually was left to live, it would be unfair to this kid because he was manufactured as bad. So actually God, because this guy had nothing to blame of being bad. He was manufactured this way. God didn't allow him to grow and be an old man. Just for the presentation for Moses, I will just do this and then I will take you. And what happened when a kid died before he reached puberty? Directly to Jannah. So this guy was built bad for the purpose of the presentation and not to be unfair to him. So God wouldn't be unfair to him. He just took him or killed him before he reached the age of responsibility. And the natural destination for this guy is going to Jannah. So this guy was not being treated unfair, actually. Actually, this guy was lucky guy, if you can say that. But that's why it's a category of its own. And this category, underneath this category, is everything that is not responsible about their action, like a crazy person or a kid or animals, for example. They are not. And I think that this, because there's no reason for this guy to suffer during his death or anything, that they didn't even feel pain during his death. And I don't think animals would feel pain during their death because they are not responsible. They're not here to be tested. So this is just for us to be tested with. We are tested with those animals. But if you're a crazy person, why would God hold you responsible? Because he made that one of the conditions to be responsible is to be sane. So if a kid at this point is not fully developed, so he's considered insane at this point, and God took him away to heaven. So this category is a category in its own, and again, and to it belongs all non-responsible creatures, be it a kid, be it a mentally disabled person, be it an animal. This is a category on its own, and that resolved the Khidr thing. Then I looked at some hadith that actually sounded against what the conclusion that we came to. And I'll give an example of one hadith only because I didn't want to go into a lot. But this example is telling because in this hadith, the answer to the problem that this hadith is posing is inside it. So I'll give you a brief description of what the hadith is saying. Is that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in one of the funerals, his companions came to him, and while they sitting around him, he told them that there is not a single soul that God has written its place from heaven or hell, and it has been written happy or sad. And happy or sad here, or sad or happy here in the sense of in the final destination. So one of the men around the Prophet got shocked a little bit and said, "Oh, Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shouldn't we stick to what has been written to us and forget about doing actions?" Because that's what he understood from what the Prophet said, which is completely contradictory to what I was saying in part one of this video, that you have free will and free choice. Actually, obviously, it's written by this hadith. So the guy understood like what I understood from the beginning of the hadith and said, why should I do anything? I should be waiting just for my destiny to happen. It will happen anyway. So the Prophet basically replied to him saying, whoever was from the people of happiness, so he will be ending up doing what the people of happiness would do. And whoever was from the people of sadness or hardship, which is fire, it stands for hell, and happiness stands for heaven. And the person who from the people of sadness will end up doing or the work of the people of sadness. And he thought that this didn't do it, so he continued saying, "You work. Everyone will be. Everyone will facilitate. Will be. I don't know the exact translation. You work." So he replied again, saying, "You work. Every one of you will be eased into the work. So the people of happiness will be eased into the work of people of happiness, and the people of sadness will be eased into the work of the people of sadness." And then he didn't stop there. He thought that he didn't really explain it to the man. So he chose a, some few verses from the Quran, from Surah Al-Layl, that are so revealing. And after those ayahs, he stopped because the ayah said it so loud. What did the ayah say? Say, whoever gave and was conscious of Allah, give charity and was conscious of Allah, and he believed in the righteousness, we will ease his way into doing more of this, or we will ease his way into Jannah. And he who was miserly and stingy and didn't give the poor, and he basically thought that he's independent of Allah and he can survive without him, and he actually denied the righteousness, we will ease his way to the hellfire or to the bad deeds. I guess that applies to the misunderstanding the guy took from the first verses. So inside the ayah, inside the hadith, the Rasul used few ayahs from the Quran to explain the misunderstanding his companion understood from the first few sentences that he said. So even though the sentences that the Rasul said may imply against the idea of the free will, the Rasul corrected the misunderstanding with a surah, with the ayat from Quran, saying you need to work. It is up to your, whatever you will do will determine. God will just make it easier for you. So if you start working hard on yourself and believed in Allah, He will make it easier for you to go to heaven. And if you denied Allah, deny and become miserly and become stingy, He will make it easy for you. You choose, and He will make it easy for you, your choice. So that completely denies the first part of the hadith where everything is written. No, it's you, it's your work. So this basically finalized my presentation, and I hope this made replies to whatever similar hadiths or similar ayahs in the Quran that may seem that is contradicting with the free will or free choice, because I think I cover the categories. The rest will fall into one of these categories. So I'll leave it up to you to ask me questions. And I make this disclosure at the end of my presentation that I'm actually not claiming any invincibility. This is just an opinion of one man. So I encourage you to look for things that I concluded wrong or ayahs that I didn't fit any of these categories that I talked about, and email it to me. You have my email in the screen down there. It's mohammedusa@gmail.com. And I'll be very happy to answer your questions or keep this debate going or go into a personal face-to-face debate with you. I'm looking for things that denies my theory. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm proven wrong. I have no problem declaring that I'm wrong, and I go back on my path. I'm not by any means seeking to get out of the fold of Islam. I believe in Islam, and I hope that this does not take me out of the fold of Islam, but I am using the thing that God gave me and the only thing that I can judge things with. And I'm using his verses or the talks of his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'm hoping that God guide me to his righteous path, and I wish you the same. Thank you for listening for all this time. I know this is very long videos, but I'm open to your criticism and your feedback. Thank you very much, and may God bless you and give you the best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.